guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So, first, do you guys like my outfit? I was going for a tomboy-like look today, and a bunch of people told me they like my outfit, but yeah. Anyway, that's not the point. Today we're going to talk about going to church, and I don't mean going to church when you're in Nigeria with your family, where you guys all get into the car and then afterwards you guys go to like Oriental to eat lunch. No, I mean going to church in school, because I know a lot of people don't go to church when they're in school because they have their choice whether or not they want to go to church. Okay, so why am I talking about going to church? Because when I first went to college, it took me a really long time to find a good church, and that was a real struggle. And after a while, I remember like I just dropped off the face of the earth, and I didn't go to church for like a long time, for like 5 or 6 months, and then I started going back to church, and it was just a real hassle going to church, being in college, and people love studying on Sunday. So I just kind of like wanted to talk about that, because I know some people feel guilty when they don't go to church, and some people just go to church because throughout the week they weren't living a right life, they haven't read their Bible or prayed. And I know a lot of people are actually very diligent about going to church. They go as friends in a group, some go to Nigerian churches abroad, some go to like Baptist churches or black churches, and just different places. So I just wanted to talk about making an effort to go to church and why it's important to go to church. So first things first, why it's important to go to church even though you don't feel like, I know Sundays, most people are hungover on Saturday from going out, or Sunday is like I didn't do shit over the whole weekend and now I have to study because I didn't study throughout the weekend. And Sunday is like, oh my god, tomorrow is Monday, tomorrow is school again. And so Sunday, it just feels like generally a really shitty day, and people, or sometimes people use like to do spring cleaning. Just anyway, so Sunday is just like that really awkward day where people are using that day to get their life together. But first things first, if you're getting your life together, like you should really be in church on Sunday. Why should you be in church on Sunday? It actually says it in the Bible where God says you shouldn't forsake the gathering of the brethren, which means like you should be happy about like, you know, getting together with other people and going to church and, you know, just worshiping God, being in his presence and talking to him and stuff like that, you know. Secondly, a lot of people don't have access to a lot of spiritual things. People are super busy. Some people don't get to do their quiet time as much as they want to do it. Some people don't get to pray as much as they would like during the week, even though they say they're going to. And church is like the one time you actually have that time allotted out of the week to do that, you know, and everything's there, the worship is there, people are there for you to gather and talk to. So it's like the one time you get to do that. So you should not take that for granted and make all these plans about when you're going to read your Bible when you actually won't, you know. So going to church just like fulfills that you spend at least some time in God's presence that week. Another reason you should go to church is like you're going to meet a lot of people who are going through the same things as you. So you're a Christian in college, they might be a Christian in college, or on the way are deciding, I mean, if they're in church, they're somewhere along those lines. So you guys can share personal experiences together, share things. There are a lot of people I met in church while I was in church at Michigan, and I'm so glad that I met those people. At first I was just like, I'm not sure about this. People are going to start acting so holy and start saying, oh, we should get together for lunch, let's get together for coffee, and we never do that. But then I actually made some really fantastic friendships through church, and service in church is actually also really awesome, like being an usher, being a sounds person. I mean, if you know you have issues with dedication, like sign up to do something at church, so that way you're making sure you're coming to church, you know. That way you're like just hearing the word and you're just like listening and just praying and just being in God's presence is kind of important. So I know people struggle with church because like sometimes they don't find churches that's similar to the ones at home where they're from. So these are my suggestions. First of all, when you first get to your school or whatever, you should go church hunting. Just kind of like you go shopping. You should go shopping for a church till you find somewhere where you're comfortable, or at least semi-comfortable. So when I first got to Michigan, I went church hunting. Someone told me there was a Redeemed Christian church, but it was in Detroit, and I knew I wasn't about to drive 30 minutes to go to church every day, and I didn't have a car. So I went to a bunch of churches. I went to the New Life Church on campus. I went to Harvesters church on campus. I went to Crew, which is not actually church, it's a fellowship that holds on, the Crew all campus gathering holds on Thursdays, and then there's smaller life groups. And then I went to Righteous Movement. So what did I like about all these things? Why was I switching and moving? New Life was pretty good. New Life was predominantly white. It kind of reminded me of the church I went to in high school, and it was they were all non-denominational. It was nice, you know. we talked. There was a lot of communion, but most of the time I still felt kind of detached while I was there, and I loved the worship at New Life, but I still felt detached. Also, I was super lazy. I lived really far on campus, and I wasn't about to do the walk to New Life, which is like 40 minutes every day. So I went there a few times, kind of cost that out. Then Harvest was really nice. Harvest was predominantly Asian, but I loved Harvest. The lead pastor was amazing. He was such a cool guy. He was really funny. And then there were a handful of black people and a sprinkle of Nigerians here and there. So it was a really nice place. They really stressed and emphasized community. So you should really look for a church that emphasizes community when you get to your school, because then you can build community with people there and you have people to rely on. And they did small groups. Personally, I didn't like the small groups because the small groups were really, really long. They were during the week. They were like 2 or 3 hours long, and I just didn't have that time commitment. Like, I loved fellowships, but I liked fellowships that were within the 1 hour 30-minute range because I was so busy. So I kept going to Harvest, and I went to Harvest every Sunday. I became very super involved. I went to their vigils, I went to their barbecues, and I really loved it there. So that was a good church. Even though it was predominantly Asian, I never felt left out because everyone was trying their best to, to foster community. So that's one thing you should definitely look for when looking for a church, when shopping. Look for a church that fosters community. Look for a church where you understand what the preacher is about, like his doctrine, and you're not super confused about what's going on. There were some churches where I felt like things were too elementary for me just because I had matured a little bit spiritually, and some were super deep. So look for where you can get what you need for where you are in your spiritual walk. And then I went to Righteous Movement. I love Righteous Movement. Okay, so Righteous Movement was like an all-black fellowship. Once in a while there'd be white people there, but it was kind of awkward. But then it was an all-black fellowship. I loved the pastor. Pastor Matt was just amazing. He like really got everyone. It was a really small fellowship. It held on Mondays, so it was like church on Mondays, because some people didn't like the churches they went to on Sundays and whatnot. And this held, and it was a fantastic fellowship because you could ask questions later. You could talk about different things, and that was like the church I felt the most connected with. It might be because of the cultural experience, because everyone was black, we shared the same kind of jokes, we just got each other. That could have been why, but the preaching was just amazing because it was very deep. Pastor Matt would always break down very complex parts of the Bible, and that was what I really needed for my life at that time. So that was why I loved that. So I went to Harvest on Sundays, and I went to Righteous Movement on Mondays, so they were kind of like supplementing each other. I went to Crew for a while. Crew was pretty cool. It was also predominantly white. I think there were just like 3 black people, me, my best friend who went with me, and some other guy. But then it's where I loved their worship, I loved their preaching. It held every Thursday, but I never felt connected. As much as they pushed community there, it just wasn't the place for me. So what I'm saying is, find your niche. Like, get to school, try out a bunch of different places. Like, don't just go to one place and be like, oh, it sucked, I'm not going again, it's awful, and you leave it out. Just try different places. You might go to one place this week, another place next week, but the point is that you made an effort to find church. Sometimes I just never gelled with church completely, and what I did is, like, I actually streamed my church from back home, or I streamed other churches, or I just like watched preachers that I really loved every Sunday morning. I would wake up, find a quiet place, watch Joyce Meyer throughout the morning, journal down everything she had said, pray, worship, and just like I held a church service on my own. Yeah, I was kind of lonely at first, but then once I started getting into the habit of it, when I didn't want to go to other churches, it was a really nice supplement for me. So what I'm saying is, make an effort, go out there, ask people, try fellowships, try church on Sunday. Just make sure you're feeding yourself spiritually with other believers at least once a week while you're in school. Like, staying off grid for that long period of time is going to affect you, and you're gonna get home and it's gonna be hard for you to reconnect when you get home. So yeah, go to church, go to fellowship. If you can't find any, start your own, do something, like get involved. So yeah, I hope this was helpful. If you have questions about going to church and streaming churches from back home and things like that, let me know. I'm gonna do a video actually on preachers to watch out for. So